After his marriage broke up, Temba became very philosophical. I guess it was in our stars, he sighed. What do you mean? Asked Temba, rather azotwa. Well, Temba said, your astrological sign is one for earth, and mine is one for water, which means together we made mud. Well, good evening and welcome to Talk with Rhymes Live. Tonight we officially launch the partnership with the SA Innovation Summit, which means all content between now and the 1st of October on Opportunity Tuesday will be dedicated to the summit. So every Tuesday, we are focusing on the summit. If you have not registered as yet, please do so. The details are on the screen as we speak. Just use the code REMS10 to get a 10% discount. The summit is already cheap as it stands. So to get a 10% discount, you're getting it for almost free. I am very excited about tonight. We are going international. Talk with Rhymes Live is so international, it's not funny. My first interview is with somebody in Zambia, Lusaka, and the second interview, in the main interview, is somebody in the UK. It cannot get better than that. So if you're not part of Talk with Rhymes, you are not part of the global world. You are missing out. And that's what the digital world has brought us. So to our first guest on the quickie is Gilbert Mwale from MSICA. He's chief executive of MSICA. I'm sure it's MSICA, but he'll tell me just shortly. It's an agricultural technology company trading as MSICA and does two things mainly. And he's going to tell us about those two things. I'm not going to spoil the fun. Let him tell us about the two things mainly. But most importantly, he's part of this summit. And I spoke to him offline before we started that what a pity it's digital, because he would have been here in the country as part of the summit. But he's one of the incubator companies that were part of the summit, and he was going to be showcasing what they've been doing in their business in bringing together successful e-business in agriculture. If I got it wrong, I'm not concerned. Gilbert is right here to help me understand what he does. Gilbert, how are you, mate?
Awesome, awesome. Hi, Rams. Thank you very much for having me here, and hi to everybody listening.
Thank you so much for joining us, man. I'm fascinated to be talking to somebody outside our borders. We're always talking to South Africans. It's fun to talk to. So, did I get it right? Is it MSICA?
You are definitely correct, because you know the thing is that you are actually saying it exactly how I say it. Yes. MSICA. E for electronic. MSICA simply means a market. In a local language, in one of the districts of Zambia, deep down near Malawi, a place called Chipata, we simply use a language called Chichewa, and in there's a word called MSICA. So when you add them, you are simply making an electronic market, MSICA.
I see. I actually have heard of Chichewa. Now I speak to somebody who speaks that language. Wow, I'm so fascinated. So. Let's start with you. You are an engineer by training. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, truly, I've studied computer science, to be specific, and software engineering. Going in depth over that. I've done a master's in computer science from India, and definitely that is where the passion of e-commerce comes from. You know, like being able to see how a huge, big country, chaotic in nature, be able to actually bring things to life, you know, in a way that they have done using technology. For me, that's really spoke to me. I've actually worked with several organizations. I've worked with the central bank for a short period of time. I've worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers. I've worked with Airtel here in Zambia, which is under Bati Airtel. And yeah, I've had a lot of good experience around the technological space also, and also from the side of compliance in terms of IT. And it's high time and if you look at it, what's funny is that with all these things, I got into the space of technology, running away from agriculture, because I grew up a farmer. I was born a farmer. You know, I down that side in the space I told you from, where we get that name. The language we use is Chichewa. What happened is that I was born, found my dad, you know, growing maize and tobacco, and literally, when I look at that life, you know, we never had too much, you know, that everybody would experience. And for me, I thought to myself, if you want to be poor in life for good, become a farmer. You know, that is the perception I had in my mind, and definitely I tried to run away from it as much as I could. But by God's grace, when I sat down in India and experienced technology, I realized that the problem was not with my dad or the people like him around there, but specifically a certain activity that they did not have available, products that did not have access to, and things that they did not have the ability to get by themselves, by the nature of where they are, the distance they have from the capital city, which is Lusaka. You know, that impeded them from being able to do anything else except grow, you know, maize and such. So that's primarily who I am and where I come from, you know.
So how then did you then start Imsika?
So, you know, building up on that same story, what you begin to see is that after I realized to say that the problem was not us and rather how things were. So we had to quickly do a research, me and my partner, to find out exactly what's really going on. And in understanding, in getting down to the bottom of things, we realized that about 90% of the agricultural suppliers of farm inputs, you know, people that sell or manufacture things like fertilizers, agrochemicals, pesticides, insecticides, you know, things that you can use for aquaculture or any of these things, machinery and equipment, the only place you could find 90% of them is in the capital city. Meaning that if you're outside in the remote areas, you have to travel long distances, losing valuable time, you know, and money just for you to be able to access such things. So we decided then that with the technology that we have gotten to learn, because my partner is equally an engineer himself, a civil engineer. So with the technology that we understood, we learned then to say, how do we then enact it and allow people, no matter the distance, to be able to find the agricultural inputs they're looking for, pay for them, and have them delivered to them while they're just sitting on their farms. And top it up, we then began to learn that apart from the access to agricultural inputs that they were struggling with, they also didn't know how to be able to farm other things. So how could they grow tomatoes on a commercial level? How could they do it as a business? So our concern has always been, how do we train the small scale farmer to farm as a business? You know, because they feed the nation, but they need to benefit also financially from their efforts. And to have that done, we have actually set up a farming advisory platform also that has got trainings, an e-learning platform called apunzile.com, because the place where you buy agricultural inputs is imsika.com. So when you go to apunzile.com, there you find trainings now, which teach you how to grow cabbage, how to take care of it, and how to make money out of it.
You know, I like how you are involved in the value chain. I mean, you can then train me to farm commercially. But most importantly, because I've always said this, once I have done that very well, you can also then help me to get onto the market through Imsika and sell my product.
Most definitely. So what you look at it is that when you're starting a business, you definitely have this big business plan in mind that you have. But what you want to do is that depending on where you are and the resources that you have available, you want to stage out the way you roll out your services. So from our side, from our perspective, one of the critical things we did at the beginning is that we knew that we wanted to solve four main things on behalf of farmers. Number one was to provide access to inputs. Number two was to provide farming advisory, which is the trainings that they can get, and the e-extension services. Number three is access to markets, the ones you just mentioned right now, the ability to find where you can be able to sell the products that you've actually produced. And finally, is to be able to provide financial inclusion, because we have learned that the commercial farmers in the country and outside there are doing so well, primarily not because they have finances, but because banks are able to trust them and allow them to be able to get, financing for them to expand their businesses. But the same privilege is not extended to a small scale farm. So we are targeting at all those things, but stage by stage, we've been able to solve two of those problems right now, and we are heading towards dealing with those other two also.
Wow. Now, at the best of times, technology is very intimidating to a lot of us. I can imagine it's easy for you. You're a computer scientist, your partner is an engineer. How do the people that you work with, how are they finding the technology? Are they using it well? Are they finding it useful? Are they embracing it? Is it helping them?
Well, so that's a very good question, Ramsey. Thank you very much for that. Because we need to remember, as much as we go into the cloud, we need to remember that there are people out there who don't understand what that is. So what we've been able to do is that, we work with organizations that allow us to be able to assist these people in adopting these technologies. So we have partnered with other major organizations. One of them is Musika, which is almost like our name, but they are an NGO that work with several other farmers. And in that direction, that helps us, to reach out to the bottom, and be able to assist people adopt this technology. But the funny thing is that COVID has been a curse and a blessing in disguise, because most people were a little bit unsure of whether they should be able to take up the use of technology. But as soon as it came in, a lot of people realized that a lot of old ways that they were using for them to be able to achieve things, they can no longer use them. So that is why, for example, I'll give you an example. With the training platform, we just brought it out. I think we are yet to even launch. We just brought it out about a month ago. Within 3 days, we already had 800 people jumping on the platform, wanting to learn these things. So that shows you, if we had done that prior to the COVID, nobody would have come through. But you see that because of that situation, suddenly there's an upsurge, because people realize to say, we need to learn, and this is a new way. What you need to do to try and help out quickly, I'll add this one, is you need to create guardrails, things that help these people adopt. For example, tutorials. You help them create guidelines and all these things that assist them, and then put a customer care line that allows them to be able to call in whenever they have a challenge, so they can be assisted. That way, everybody feels comfortable to do even things that they were not able to do before.
Wow, Gilbert. Guys, you wonder why he's so articulate. I'll tell you one of the things he didn't tell you about himself. He is also a preacher man. That's why he's so well. He's a lecturer, a preacher man, a family man. He's an amazing. He's also an author, by the way. He's authored a book called Developing the Genius in You. Gilbert Mwale, I look forward to be in the same room with you, at least virtually, at the summit when we begin. Thank you so much for the time tonight.
Most definitely. Thank you very much, Rams, for the opportunity to be with you on this wonderful talk show. And I'm definitely looking forward to being with you in the room. Be blessed.
Have a great evening. Thank you so much. When we come back, we go to the UK, virtually at least.
Talk with Rams Live brings you a new streamcast on Saturdays called 10 Questions, where our host, Rams Mabote, answers 10 business questions from you. Take part in the show by sending your question as a video or voice note to 067 271 8239. Or else, uzoitola kanjani?
Welcome back. And we move now from Zambia to the United Kingdom. I told you tonight, we are an international show. If you're not with us, I'm so sorry for you. And it's going to be like this every Tuesday. We're going to be talking the SA Innovation Summit and meeting all sorts of people from all over the world who are going to bring us amazing content and information that will take your business to the next level. Now, intellectual property is a subject close to my heart. I will not lie to you. I'm always so afraid, so scared that somebody could be stealing one of my ideas. I sit here doing this, program, and I'm always wondering who's watching, who's going to be doing the same thing. Do I need to be registering something? Do I need to be covering myself? So I'm glad that I've got a guest who's going to help us to know a bit about this stuff and how they're going to be helping all those SMEs who are going to be part of the summit come the end of the month. Josef Geoola went from being a microbiologist to starting his market research and intellectual property firm. He's joining us from the United Kingdom. He is CEO of Ingentuim, and he's my guest for the next few minutes. Josef, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Rams. Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine.
I know you've moved from your very short summer to now going to the real life in the UK.
Oh yeah, I mean, we didn't really even have a summer. Our summer went by like this, very quick.
And summer in the lockdown and in the pandemic, it's just a terrible summer for you.
It is. We were lucky that we had a few days with 17 degrees, which is like the peak of summer. But yeah, that's all over now, and it's back to reality for us.
That's our winter, 17 degrees here.
I think it's winter across the world. I think only in Scotland will 17 degrees be a summer.
Tell us a bit about Ingentium.
Sure. So Ingentium is a competitive intelligence and a commercial IP consultancy firm. We are based in Edinburgh, UK. Mm-hmm. And it happens that we specialize primarily in the life sciences. So that's human health, animal health, and agriculture. But we do work with some other areas out there. Yeah. And really what we offer our clients is the ability to take market and commercial data, combine it with intellectual property information and data, and come up with strategies for businesses or for the deployment of products or ventures that are likely to be successful and could be sustainable. So in a nutshell, that's what Ingentium does.
Amazing. I mean, I can imagine how important this is because, all of us entrepreneurs come up with amazing ideas, but we don't know how to package them in strategy and how to then bring intellectual property into those so that when we take them to market, that they are protected. How are you finding that the clients are responding to what you're offering them?
I think it's actually very highly appreciated. So we often find that speaking to, and we have a wide array of clients, I should say. So we work with small startups and SMEs. We work with public sector organizations, research institutes, and we even work with governments. And one of the feedbacks that we get from all our clients is that when they wanted to get IP advice, they would go to one sort of outfit. So they would go see a patent attorney or a trademark attorney. Yes. And if they wanted commercial advice, they would go to some sort of a consultancy firm that did business advice. We actually bring the two together, and there is really an argument to make that commercial strategy is based on both understanding your market and understanding the intellectual property involved in your market. We bring both of those together. So it actually works really well for our clients. When they come to us with an assignment, we can actually do both the commercial side and the IP side together.
I actually think I just did something so wrong here because I took for granted, because I understand it, I worry about it every day, and I thought everybody would know about it. But, for the purposes of our followers and our viewers, in simplest terms, what is intellectual property?
Intellectual property, oh gosh, there's various ways of defining it. To me, intellectual property is effectively intangible assets that you've generated through knowledge, whether that is a new process, a new composition of sorts, a new brand-related asset, which would often be referred to as a trademark. These are all creations of the mind, and they're intangible. They don't really, you can't hold them as such. Yes. To me, that is what I would say is intellectual property. It's quite wide and all-encompassing.
And why is it important? Why should I worry about my intellectual property when I go out to market?
Very, very important. So, and a very good question. The reality is that the world is transitioning from being a sort of a traditional economy to being a knowledge economy. And that is a phenomenon that's happening globally. So if you want to stand out, it is the fruits of your knowledge, these ideas that you come up with, that are going to help differentiate you on the marketplace. Therefore, understanding what IP is, what IP exists in the work that you do and the operations that you undertake on a daily basis is very important in differentiating you from your competitors and ensuring that you maintain competitive advantage over them in the long term. So IP becomes very important in that. Furthermore, there's an argument to be made, and there's a lot of data around this. Most modern companies, if you look at how the value in the business is divided between, tangible assets like plant, machinery, and equipment, and intangible assets, you'll see that modern businesses, almost 70% of the value is in their intangible assets. So it just shows you IP becomes very important from a monetary perspective as well, from a value perspective.
But IP, Joseph, from what I see, should be more intense than just an idea, shouldn't it? I mean, I speak to a lot of people, and because they have an idea, they think that's IP.
It's like saying if you have an idea, you have a business. It's not very true. You have to turn that idea into something. And as I said, ideas these days with more modern businesses, we're finding that data and software creation and algorithm creations, these things there's more of them being generated across various industries and various sectors. So yeah, you could have an idea for a great analytical database. That's good for you. It's when you actually bring that down and record it as a database, and you create data sets and you create analytical frameworks. That's where the IP actually sits, and it's about identifying all these various IP assets and making sure that you leverage them correctly.
I see that Ingentuim is invested in helping SMEs and governments on innovation management in this continent of ours, Africa. Tell us a bit about that.
So if I may start, I'll give you a bit of background about myself. So I was sort of an in-house IP officer for an animal health organization based in the UK. And the objective of this organization was to introduce animal health products and interventions to the African market and to the Asian market. And this was primarily due to the fact that often these markets are overlooked. People don't always pay very close attention to them. So I became very involved in looking at commercial information and looking at IP data and creating IP strategies and commercial strategies to see that products, novel animal health products, could be deployed throughout Africa, throughout Asia, and could be sustainable over time. And that really piqued my interest. I thought, this is an area that people often seem to ignore, yet these emerging economies, developing economies, they're really, really important to consider, both from a business perspective, as well as in a way to support that transition from a more traditional economy to a knowledge-based economy. And part of Ingentuim's work, both in terms of volunteer time, in terms of business, and in terms of even support, has been to various initiatives across the African continent in terms of IP and IP policy.
So one last question.
Sure.
What is it that those people that, we on this program have for the last 3 weeks been calling on everybody who's within our ear, our voice reach, to say, come to the summit, come to the Innovation Summit. What are they going to benefit those people who are going to be in that room, virtual as it may be, in terms of what you'll be bringing into that summit?
Sure. I think that's a great question. So I should say the masterclass that we will be co-hosting is with another organization called Untitled, based in South Africa. Very well respected IP attorneys. So what the title of our IP masterclass is IP value creation. And what you'd expect entrepreneurs, and I should add, not only entrepreneurs, investors, if you're a policymaker, any individual who has an interest in seeing how businesses develop and sustain competitive advantage. What we will be doing is helping them understand, firstly, the key types of IP assets which exist in modern businesses, and hopefully removing this bias that IP is only patents and trademarks, because we don't want anyone to walk away thinking that there's a lot more IP in your business than just patents and trademarks. Introducing them to the wide variety of IP, helping you understand how to identify that, how to look at IP data, and this is very important, IP data to create long-lasting business strategies and competitive advantage to help you succeed in your industry, and also what to do to proactively manage your IP, monetize your IP, whether it's through licensing, cross-licensing, whatever it is, and also leveraging your IP in terms of putting a number, a value on it, so that if you go to a bank and you're looking for a loan, perhaps you might be able to use your IP as collateral. As well as pitching your business to investors. So I think there's quite a lot to take away from this. And unfortunately, and this is not only a condition of South Africa, it's a condition of a lot of, globally, it's a condition. People often overlook the importance of intellectual property. It's often not proactively regarded. It's usually a reactive notion that people only address when someone asks them, do you have a patent on this? Or have you considered freedom to operate? Or have you done an IP landscape? And what we're trying to do is establish how important it is to look at all of this, and also empower individuals into doing this proactively within their own ventures.
If you mention anything to do with monetizing anything, I will be in that room.
Please,
That's how I roll.
Please
That's
join.
how I
And it's
roll.
important because, as I said, IP has value and it can be monetized.
Excellent. Josef, Geoola, CEO of Ingentuim, joining us from the UK. Are you in Edinburgh as we speak?
I am in Edinburgh. I'm sitting in our office. We've just opened for the last 2 weeks. So I'm happy to be here, actually.
Excellent. Josef, it's been wonderful chatting to you, and we're looking forward to the masterclass. We're hoping, by the way, to be beaming the masterclass live when it happens.
I'm looking forward to it too. Thanks very much for your time, Rams.
It's been excellent. Thank you very much, and have a great evening. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Tomorrow is Wisdom Wednesday, and we focus on the good, the bad, and the ugly of husband and wife working together in a business. It's going to be exciting. We're joined by a couple that started a business together, and they've been running for a few years, and they've got nuggets to share with us. Do not miss it. That concludes tonight's show. Thank you very much, Frederick. It's been rolling very well. We see you all tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. From me, Rems Mabote, good night and God bless.